I'm in Monaco. This is one of the smallest countries in the world, but at the same time, it's also one of the most expensive and densely populated. Almost every square meter of land here is built up. Monaco is a country for wealthy people. Mostly, the people who live here made their fortunes somewhere else and now just enjoy spending their money in style. But of course, there are also people who came here without billions. They managed to find good jobs here or build a business. That's not easy to do in Monaco. And today in this episode, we'll be figuring out how they make it happen.
Undoubtedly, Monaco is not for everyone. It's an elite spot, all is pricey, luxurious.
After Moscow, I thought, what would surprise me? I saw what Monaco is really like, and my world turned upside down.
The mystery and uniqueness of this small country is enhanced by it being still ruled by a prince.
It's a principality, it's a monarchy, it's a completely different world. The most serious crimes. It's an insult to the prince, the princely family. A heir is put in prison.
This kingdom of the wealthy is only the size of a small district in an ordinary city.
Well, that's it. I've officially walked across the entire country from one border to the other. And in length.
However, the concentration of money here is the highest in the world, and not everyone can afford to buy something on this land.
Such an apartment costs approximately 2.5 million euros, approximately 2.5 million euros.
Monaco is a haven for millionaires. At the same time, even wealthy people find it not so easy to settle in Monaco now. In this episode, I will not only walk through Monaco, but also approach it from the sea on a yacht. I will also show how people live in neighboring French towns and even visit a wild beach.
There'd be enough testosterone.
So subscribe to my YouTube and Instagram now, and let's go. Monaco is a city-state. There are no fields or vineyards here. All of that is nearby in France, whose border is very nominal and almost invisible. Here we are approaching Monaco from the sea on a yacht. You can identify the principality by the high-rises. We are not the only ones who have settled. The sea off these shores is active.
Why are they overtaking us?
Boats are speeding by so fast that the wind blows away the cushions. There is also a lot of wildlife here. Here, playing and frolicking in our wake, is some huge fish unknown to me. This is Alexander. He moved to the Côte d'Azur and takes people on his yacht around Monaco and the surrounding areas.
This is how you can approach Monaco on your yacht. Do you need anything for that? Any permits? I don't know. The prince allows everything for good people with good intentions.
Keeping a yacht in the port of Monaco is very expensive. You can see it by those that are moored here. There's even a diving catamaran.
It's impossible to get a spot, very difficult. The prices, which are high in the summer, double. These are all serious people, serious money.
In Monaco, there's simply no place to build an airport, and those who don't want to be stuck in traffic fly in from Nice by helicopter. Moreover, there are affordable options. Shared flights with tickets for 160 euros.
The heliport, yes, the only place in the world where there are helicopter traffic jams. This happens twice a year during the Cannes Film Festival and the Formula One. They hover here in the air like bumblebees, and they quickly land, drop off or pick up and swiftly take off. And here they circle around like this. This building is a landmark. Monaco, it's Ocean Museum, oceanographic museum named after Jacques-Yves Cousteau.
A whaling harpoon is installed on the roof of the building.
This is the prison of Monaco, the most progressive prison in the world, with 3 types of ice cream to choose from, with the most beautiful view, so to speak. Some of our compatriots leave there very pleased and happy to have visited this historic place.
A large and very huge liner in the port doesn't often always get a free spot, and they drop anchor somewhere nearby.
And these are all the lifeboats. From this ocean liner, they transport all the people back and forth.
The port is one of the busiest places in the Principality and also one of the most multifunctional. Here is an Olympic pool, which becomes an ice rink in winter, and also a square where they hold shows, exhibitions, pool competitions, and set up a grandstand during Formula One races. Right with the view of the port lives Senior, who came to Monaco a year ago.
So this is practically the central district of Monaco, although I think all of Monaco is central. And this is your district.
Yes, but we are on the border of Monte Carlo and La Condamine.
Well, the districts here are such that you walk for about a minute in one district and you're already at the border.
Yes, probably, yes, maybe.
So what exactly distinguishes your area? This is not Monte Carlo. Monte Carlo is on the next street.
That's Monte Carlo.
Oh, is this house Monte Carlo?
House is Monte Carlo. Wow. Live in Monaco.
Oh my goodness. Wow.
I go to the Philharmonic Theater. It's all nearby here too. Near the famous Grace Kelly Theater. The Monte Carlo Philharmonic is also 10 minutes away from here.
Well, if anything is left, you can spend it at the casino.
Very beautiful floor. The most interesting thing is that it's one big building and it connects to each other through passages.
This is the elevator of another building. Cool, neat. The elevator is kind of old.
Yes, we are now moving from one building to another. Because if you go around, it turns out that you're climbing uphill and going around the building. I always get tired.
Well, for Monte Carlo, this is just a huge apt.
A big apartment. About 70 square meters. Maybe even more with the balcony. In this part, we have 2 rooms. A bathroom. There's also a laundry room here. The kitchen is small, but cozy.
I think it's huge for French standards or something.
But of course, the most amazing thing is the balcony because we have a very large terrace.
Wow.
Yes, the terrace is big.
For Formula One, you could rent it out here, I don't know, sell 100 tickets.
During the races, the whole country turns into a Formula One track.
So this is the main track where Formula One takes place. The start begins right here, opposite the pool. Is this the main grandstand? Yes, this is the main grandstand. So this year, we managed to attend Formula One for the first time. And it was, of course, wow. And we invited our friends, acquaintances, just for fun. So we weren't selling anything. I remember once I read in a Telegram channel that tickets for this very amazing terrace. So for these 2 buildings, because from these 2 buildings you can see most of it. 3,000 euros. 3,000 euros. Is that for 1 day or 2 days? It was very interesting, energetic. People were all very cheerful. Music was constantly around. So all 4 days in Monaco are a celebration.
Senior is from Moscow and initially moved to France.
A year ago, my favorite student invited me for private piano lessons in Nice. I lived for a month at my student's home in Prague. We lived together. After that, my best friend from the States, who I hadn't seen in a long time, flew over to me. We rented an apartment in Nice together. We lived together for 2-3 months. And after that, I decided to move to Monaco because I am very grateful for the turn of events that brought me here and allowed me to see what Monaco is like. And my world, as I told you, turned upside down.
I'm already at home at Elena's. She works in medicine and genetics, and the shelves in her office are bending under the weight of awards, diplomas, and photos with important people. A person from Qatar came to see you. How much did the session cost him?
No, I charge by the hour. It's all on the website. These are all 4-digit numbers.
Elena ended up in the south of France after being invited to a major medical center. Elena was born into a family of doctors and now specializes in working with her patients' DNA.
I was always interested as a child from St. Petersburg who was initially very sickly in how to avoid getting sick, because I had a very negative attitude towards doctors, to the Yukio, to all of that in my childhood. Well, being from a family of doctors, remember, everyone was treating me, of course. The best key method and strategy against aging today is optimizing the function of our DNA. If you think, what about now? Currently, money is a guarantee of safety, but when it comes to health, they are a huge risk factor. Once an Arab princess made an appointment with me. She was 39 years old at the time. She was an astonishing beauty. How did she enter here? An assistant walked in front, carrying a bag. The bag was larger than Santa Claus's sack.
Is it like medicine?
Yes. Americans have a huge amount, you ask me, of sugar consumption. They even managed to develop type 1 diabetes, that is insulin dependent, in newborns due to their super sweet formulas.
The most central place in the Principality is the Monte Carlo Casino. There are always the most expensive cars and a bunch of cameras watching everyone, even those who toss a coin into the fountain. Inside the casino there are many people, but they are tourists. They came to take a couple of photos. In the gaming halls there are fewer people, and filming is strictly prohibited. We can sit down and play now.
Yes, of course, of course.
We need to buy chips.
Yes, you get the chips at the entrance. And they play the slot machines. It's quite a thing, especially for Americans. There are a lot of Americans here now.
Who mainly plays here?
Absolutely different people. Well, if you ask traditionally, of course, Asians the most. But if it's our compatriots, you will hear Russian spoken. There are 3 halls here. The first hall is for slot machines. Then there are games like roulette and blackjack. And then there's a completely closed area where very serious people play and no one is allowed in. You can simply ask to go in and they will show you. But when they play, indeed, these are high rollers who play in the VIP area.
And have you ever placed a bet at any point during all this time?
Oh, no. I had a really funny story back in my youth in Budapest when I played and won quite a lot. But back then, under socialism, you had to give it all away,
At the entrance to the casino, a monument to blind fortune. Next to the casino, there's a mini park with strange sculptures and funny ducks. But the pigeons here are not amused at all. They have problems with huge hungry seagulls. Shoo! Get out of here!
Last year at the casino square, they rented the casino square to hold a wedding. Who do you think it was? It was Indians.
Indians?
It was Indians. How much did it cost? The rental cost, I think, according to information, 7 million.
And here's the Monte Carlo Casino, view from the sea. Money was lost there too.
Villages, countries, people, souls were lost there. Everything. Over a century here in this casino. It's frightening to imagine how many human destinies and money have passed through here.
Just a bit to the right is the only beach in Monaco and the coolest clubs where girls sometimes really wait for a prince, though probably not on a white horse, just a little. In the coolest high-rise in Monaco, according to Alexander, there are many Russian speakers.
And the entire Donbass, which relocated here since 2014, occupies this building. And former residents of Kiev live in that hotel. Well, like this one? Yes, just like everywhere else. Everything is divided, we don't mention names and such, but people respect. People have a lot of respect. The newest complex, fashionable, opened a year ago. It's called La Stoshkina Gnini by our people. No, yes, of course, there's an apartment, hotel, office, restaurant. It's luxurious. But this is France, it's already France.
But with the start of the war, the flow of Russian-speaking tourists has significantly decreased.
Thank you. Significantly fewer tourists, because before here at the Hôtel de Paris, there were only Russians. Today, you practically won't hear Russian spoken.
I would divide everything into two parts. There are people who come here well off, just to live well and go to the casino. They already have the means, they have already achieved everything in this life. They don't need to work, and they just relax here. The second part is people who, on the contrary, come here to earn money like us. In general, we also came here to earn money. Getting a job with the French is very difficult. You need to have a diploma, you need to have a lot of various things, well, a view on life and everything else. Therefore, hired employees, they are complicated.
Nina and her husband opened a magazine editorial office here in the Russian language. Moreover, according to Elena, Russian and Ukrainian millionaires get along quite well. In Monaco.
In Monaco, it's less noticeable because you might simply not know if someone is Ukrainian or not. Here, it's very uncommon to discuss or criticize something negatively and so on. But on the street, Russian millionaires don't fight with Ukrainians. No.
Monaco's different.
No, it's less reliable.
Nevertheless, major businessmen have perfectly learned to bypass sanctions.
It's just another quest, because any successful person has gone through many quests in their life. Well, now Dubai is developing in a wonderful way.
Surprisingly, something dedicated to the Emirates is being prepared in the port of Monaco. Dubai and Monaco are openly competing with each other. The atmosphere is similar and the crowd of people is also similar. Vladimir is a Russian who opened several beauty salons in Monaco and France. He was born in Kharkiv, grew up in Moscow, studied in England, lived in the USA, and eventually ended up here. His parents wanted him to become a political scientist. Even in Moscow, he worked in the beauty industry at a top salon.
We bought a franchise and a salon. It was in a different place, as it was small. We invested in a bigger salon. Now we have 3 salons, 2 in Monaco and 1 there.
Yes, he's terrible. They removed me due to their housing. I even know who.
What is this all about?
This is my colleague Andrea, an Italian. How much does it cost? 80 euros.
80 euros? That's not expensive for Monaco, I think.
What helmet is this?
This is an animated dryer from a Soviet cartoon movie.
This is a technique we do literal massage, face massage, literal massage, massage from the inside out. With self-rejuvenation, it will bring a lifting effect, a face lifting effect.
The entire principality is located on mountain slopes, and making wealthy people walk uphill would be tactless, so there are elevators everywhere. The architecture is very mixed. This is what the synagogue looks like. There are many Italian buildings, but mostly the city is growing upwards because there are too many people who want to live specifically in Monaco. Almost all inhabitants of Monaco are indeed, at least millionaires in fact. At least those who have any property here. Because the cheapest apartment, some studio of about 15 square meters, costs around $1 million at minimum, and the average price per square meter reaches $100,000 euros per square. Unbelievable. In the entire country, I found only one shabby building. There is such a scarcity of available space that temporary terraces are built right on the roadway in such a way that they fit. It can be dismantled, and then there's a road again, for example, for Formula 1.
170 square meters, 10 seating meters for a hairdresser. For Monaco, that's a lot.
The space itself is huge. How much does it cost?
In Monaco, you can't buy a wall because there are owners who own the wall. You buy a fonds de commerce, so to speak. A fonds de commerce is 1.5 million, for example. 1.5 million is just to start working here.
Recently, the salon's clientele has changed.
There are sanctions. Before that, we certainly had a very large number of Russian-speaking clients. I would say probably 50-60% were Russian-speaking clientele.
My policy, which I adopted from the very beginning, is not to make a Russian salon in the baths. That's what. I believe that this is, first of all, a huge mistake. I have less than half Russian-speaking employees. Ukraine, Moldova, Romania, Russia, Poland, and Italians, as well as a lot Armenians. There are.
This is Nastya. She is originally from Moldova. She studied international relations, married an Austrian, and moved with him to Monaco. Finding a job in her field here turned out to be unrealistic.
It turned out that all the in-demand jobs here are either in the financial sector or in the service or dorm sector, to work there at the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. If you are, let's say, in some kind of government institution, you need to be monegasque. I had to find myself in another field. And I found it. I worked for some time at the Russian Orthodox parish, and I found myself very well there. It suited me, yes, and according to my education, and because, yes, after all, it was our community. There were a lot of people sort of from our Soviet space.
Now Nastya travels a lot for her husband's business, helping him with work in the energy sector.
Let's say, for example, construction, let's say, of oil refineries.
In addition, Nastya is a health consultant.
I had to go study to become a aromatherapist, nanotherapist. And gradually over these 4 or 5 years, I completely transitioned into this field, and now I have started to get clients there.
What did you do in Moldova?
I was born in Moldova, which is a country. Grew up.
That's everything you can do in Moldova. Senya is a musician, and she managed to continue working in Monaco in her profession.
At the moment, I'm already teaching many students because I continue to work online. Now I'm combining online lessons and offline. Of course, I really like offline lessons. They are much more effective. It's more interesting to have conversations. You can always make an impact. Sometimes.
With such a look, it's good to give offline lessons and also sell the look. But recording lessons online, you can edit them nicely. How much can you earn with the piano? How much does an hour cost with you?
My lesson currently costs between 60 to 80 euros. In principle, that's a very good price for Monaco. I plan to raise my price to 100. I want to continue developing further.
For ordinary workers, it's just unrealistically expensive to rent housing in Monaco. And every day, tens of thousands of people take trains and buses to come to Monaco for work. Some come on scooters, already in a jacket. Almost the entire staff wears suits. The residents of Monaco themselves wear such clothing less often.
About 50-60,000 people come every day.
They come by train morning?
Yes, they come by train morning, some by car.
Surely someone who works as an ordinary person here in an ordinary workplace, he cannot afford housing. Here.
They have good, but no, why would he need such expenses? But they have excellent salaries. Everyone really wants to work here. They strive because they are significantly higher than in France and Italy. That's why people come not only from France but also from Italy.
Moreover, you see fewer black migrants on the streets of Monaco.
Yes, they are not allowed in either.
And how can they not be let in?
By the way, even if you're passing through by train, there's always police at the exit. At the station exit? Yes, at the station exit. Can they just check documents? They can't let you in because they didn't like something. We have a monarchy. It's constitutional, but still a monarchy. There's no such perverted French democracy here.
Of course, there's no racial discrimination here, but in Monaco they control documents more strictly. Is hospitality a bit different in France?
It's different in France, yes. I can, for example, compare France and Canada. Completely two different worlds. In Canada, you arrive, you come here, and local people ask you, "Oh, how do you like Canada? What have you seen? Oh, check this out." But when you arrive in France, they ask you, "Are you planning to stay here? Where did you learn the language? Can you imagine living there on benefits, right?"
There are far more newcomers in Monaco than native residents, and you can meet people from any country on the street.
That's my neighbor.
That's your neighbor. Well, are there people in Monaco who aren't your neighbors? Did you greet in Italian?
Italian.
Who else are your neighbors?
A woman from Norway whose husband is French, or he's a French Monegasque, and their last name is German, Zimmerman. Other neighbors too, let's say on the floor from Lebanon. And there's also a neighbor from Canada.
I don't actually know, but on the very first day I encountered 3 guys from my school in Chisinau, right at the Monte Carlo Casino. By the way, near Monaco, at the elite resort of Cap Ferrat, I ended up at a Moldovan wedding. People of different races and nationalities are having fun to Moldovan music. How to survive in Monaco on a single salary? Actually, if you solve the housing issue and avoid going to restaurants, it's not difficult. No one is embarrassed to take pizza to go here. In fact, you often see people in parks and on benches who have come out for lunch from work and can't afford a restaurant. Water from a vending machine costs 1.5 euros. Supermarkets aren't found everywhere. Simple, they exist. The supermarket is certainly not for millionaires, because although prices are higher than in France, they are reasonably higher. You can also find sobering prices. For example, these kinds of fruits, converted to per kilogram, pomegranates are 35 euros, watermelon 17.5. It's a complete shock. In Monaco, something is cheaper than €1, 80 cents for coffee from a vending machine. Unbelievable. On foot. There are also free things in Monaco.
After analyzing the prices in the stores, I realized that there are actually quite affordable ones. It's expensive, but not as expensive as, for example, in Norway and America. So, not such high prices. I use public transportation. I love the buses in Monaco. The monthly fee is 22 euros. The buses are very clean, not crowded. Every time I sit on the bus, I observe the locals. And my favorites, of course, are the grandmothers who barely manage to get on the bus, but they have a ring with an emerald and a purple fur coat.
They also, like our grandmothers, love to travel on public transport and show off and enjoy the experience. Is it true that in Monaco people go to a cave for groceries?
Well, I can show you. Here's the entrance.
This is right in the rock, another supermarket where Xenia is going for groceries. There's a store.
Well, to live in Monaco, first of all, you need to rent or buy or rent an apartment. If you buy an apartment, it's from 80,000 euros per square meter.
To rent, but usually not less than 7,000 to 8,000 euros for a very small apartment. Well, the wealthiest live here officially, meaning they have their own apartment and either own a house. A villa, or 3 to 5 queues, 10 kilometers from Monaco. First I bought a small apartment, and then in general we earned enough and bought a small house. We haven't actually bought anything in Monaco yet.
Alexander is talking about the house they bought in Eze. It's a very picturesque place near Monaco. Cliffs on exotic garden, old town, and a castle. The road is a continuous serpentine. It can certainly be hazardous, and the bus I was on definitely knocked a car off the road on a turn, resulting in a girl pulling glass out of her back.
How does housing cost here?
It can vary depending on the number of rooms and the size of the house, the view, the line, the district. It can cost, let's say, from 4 to 20,000 per month. There are also larger apartments that can be 30, 35.
Not to enter what?
You really shouldn't enter there.
Well, roughly what's there? Personal, okay. And here in Monaco, what are the utilities like?
By the way, they are not large. It comes to about 200 euros per month. We have very cheap electricity.
How much does such an apartment cost?
Such an apartment costs about 2.5 million euros. And if you rent, it's about 6,000 euros per month.
Do you rent?
I rent. Well, like everyone who lives in Monaco, we and I also have additional housing in France. As you know, I really love the beautiful Cannes, and I have a very nice apartment in Cannes where I often go for the weekends. Here we once had a beautiful view of the sea. Now we only see a small piece. And this is the new complex they are building.
Previously, the house where Elena lives was practically on the shore.
They are building and reclaiming a new island. The approximate price per square meter in these neighborhoods, just like near Krasnodar, will be around 100,000 euros per meter.
And imagine the people on the first line who bought the first line. They clearly overpaid for it.
They lost money.
Well, as I understand it, behind that first line, they will build another one someday.
Very yes.
The principality has reclaimed a substantial territory from the sea, increased its size and made a good profit from it. Monaco is not only building upwards, Monaco is also taking over the sea. All these buildings are already constructed over the sea. And the construction continues. Nastia lives nearby.
The construction lasted a very long time, really many years. Already, I don't know, it seems, the 5th year. And now they are already finishing. But it was disruptive because, of course, they worked from 6 in the morning until 10 at night. They drilled and broke rocks underwater. They are already nearing the end and everything is sold out. Everything is rented out, yes. So there's nothing left to purchase, everything is occupied.
As soon as you moved to Monaco, was it enough for you? Earnings from lessons, for housing, for living? Yes, absolutely right. Did you handle everything yourself? Absolutely. Previously, Xenia rented accommodation on the border with Monaco, but on French territory, which allowed her to save a lot. Across the border, in Monaco, real estate prices dropped sharply. What was the apartment cost?
I paid for a studio, but this studio was 2-level, very cute.
Many people settle around there and already work, conduct business in Monaco. Okay, how exactly did you move step by step closer to the center? to the center.
Fortunately, I met a truly wonderful young man. We started an incredible and meaningful relationship with my man. And at that time, he was already living here.
Ksenia lives with her boyfriend. He's French. How did you meet?
We met at the airport. I had a layover and our flight was cancelled. And I was standing there completely confused. What should I do? What to do? At that moment, I didn't understand French at all. And I was standing there completely confused. And opposite me, a young man
Decided to help.
And asked, "Do you need my help?" I said yes.
Renting an apartment here is much more expensive.
In Monte Carlo, an apartment of approximately about 70 square meters will typically cost around 8,000 euros, generally speaking.
Does the guy usually pay for this? Here's the place where Ksenia rented an apartment 8 times cheaper. On one side of the bridge are the high-rises of Monaco, and on the other, the houses of the French town of Roquebrune. Right on the bridge is the stop for Monaco buses. There's a cliff below me. To the left of this cliff is a provincial French town with small houses, and to the right are high-rises, and they're building some skyscraper. For example, a mother with her child left their house in France and went for a walk in Monaco. The French towns of Roquebrune and Menton were once part of Monaco, and back then the principality was not so tiny, but about 20 times larger. It might seem surprising to some, but Monaco does not fight for its former territories. Now, those who want to be closer to Monaco live in these towns. And I also stayed in Roquebrune. Here's the snake that crawled up to our front door. In the town, you can spot Ukrainian license plates. And there's a Russian store opened by Armenians. Near it, children spilled a pack of chips, and I made them clean it up. After all, it's Europe. All right? Forgiven. Not to anyone yet. To everyone. Menton is also a cool town and tries to earn from the casino. In the evening, you can meet many people from the CIS here. This guy from Moldova reminds his wife with frustration that it's been 10 years, how it works in a foreign land. I am touched. Here, the border between France and Monaco runs right along this street. And now I am crossing this border. There are no visual differences, almost none. But it's immediately noticeable that on the French side there's more commerce. All the companies operating on this side of the street are already working under French laws. And real estate here is immediately much cheaper. And the ATM is also immediately French. Beaulieu. This is a French settlement that is attached to Monaco. It stretches right along the principality. Now I am entering this very Beaulieu. Beaulieu overlooks Monaco, and the mountains here are very high. Climbing on foot is sometimes just impossible. And to spare people the trouble, there are these escalators everywhere, right in the open air. I feel like I'm in some kind of shopping mall, but a very strange one.
The difference is small, but it is felt immediately after crossing the conditional border. Different sidewalks, you might encounter some trash, completely different establishments, and even people's faces, let's say, more southern. You won't find such a small shop in Monaco, but here they are quite common.
Moreover, Monaco somehow controls its immigration policy so well that there are practically no dark-skinned people or Arabs there, but as soon as you enter Beausoleil, there are immediately many of them.
It's unlikely that there is such a difference anywhere else in the world. You step 10 meters away and housing prices drop tenfold.
Here you go, luxurious real estate in the beautiful region of maximum proximity to Monaco, Beausoleil, a spacious 70 square meters, 500,000 euros. It might seem like a lot, but compared to Monaco, the prices are about 10 times lower.
Vlad's salon is located just 1 block from France, but still on the territory of Monaco. And this is fundamentally important.
You could open a business in Beausoleil, so to speak, and have the same clientele. This is a question that many people ask, but the answer is definitely no. It wouldn't work. It didn't work. Stop. How was it? Monaco is still Monaco. For people living in Monaco, it's fundamental. The difference between Beausoleil and France is huge. There is a salon in Beausoleil. If you come to my salon, take a comfortable seat here and enjoy the ambiance, see who my clients are, who comes to me, and then go to Beausoleil, you'll see the difference. There are a few French among the clients.
The French don't really like Monaco, in general. The opposition between France and Monaco, as I said, is mainly because the French and France have huge taxes. Well, the Monegasque people who do business in Monaco, they have no taxes. The French are furious that this is possible with them next door. I think so. I think so. Very much so. Life is only for the French. And how is life in Monaco different from somewhere like Cannes? Life is different. In Monaco, it's like, I would say, a little swamp. Yes, that's right. A swamp for millionaires. People often go out in public. But the locals, they might be offended if someone calls Monaco France. They would say, no, no, we are not France, we are Monaco. Of course, they would be really offended.
Of course. Listen, it's a principality, it's a monarchy. It's a completely different world. A completely different world.
Why isn't Monaco France?
Well, in every way, actually. First of all, the main difference is in France they hate successful people and they don't like rich people. If an American and a Frenchman are walking down the street and a luxurious car drives by with a well-dressed man and beautiful women inside, the American will think, what can I do to ride in that car? And the Frenchman will think, what can I do to make him, damn it, walk alongside me on the pavement?
Monaco is a monarchy. Power here is inherited, and protests, for example, are a rare occurrence.
There was a protest regarding COVID. When there were COVID dissidents, they protested, they marched with flags. They were allowed to come out, express their protest, saying we don't want to get vaccinated, we are COVID dissidents. But in 12 years, I haven't seen any other major protests. In Monaco, everything is subject to the prince. And if I go to interview a minister or an official, then everything is thoroughly checked. First, we get special permission for this, then we are closely monitored. We proceed. It reminded me of Soviet censorship when it was necessary. Every word was checked. Here, everything is checked in the same way. The most serious crime is insulting the prince and the princely family. They put you in prison, and according to rumors, most people who end up in prison do so for insulting the princely family and the prince.
Doesn't sound...
No. Yes, this isn't a democratic country.
But there are also very liberal aspects here. For example, prostitution is allowed. However, each worker must be approved by the authorities who issue a permit. There are no organized forms like brothels here. Alexander is based in Beaulieu. It's cheaper here than in Monaco, but nevertheless it's an elite resort. And for many who are connected with Monaco, it's somewhat like a summer village. Even the dock here is named after Monaco.
But this is France, Monaco is Monaco. Here everything is a bit simpler. And for 200 years now, the entire distance from Nice to Monaco has mostly been bought up by Russians, but Ukrainians, like Cossacks and Soviet people, are not lagging behind on the peninsula. The Rothschild villas, Chaplin's house, all of this is post-Soviet. And now during the war, all those who fled, so to speak, those arriving and waiting it out, they are all here.
The number of Russian yachts decreased with the start of the war.
Many went to Turkey, went to Africa. The yachts are all under offshore flags. Deputies, the council, look, the yachts are there. Leonid Danilovich, he takes walks here sometimes. France tolerates everyone, even with this terrible situation, including those Russians. Those Russians who supposedly fled from here, they have the same documents, they are also refugees, they also receive payments.
It's not hard to understand why people are eager to live here, just by looking at these bays. We approached Monaco closely.
To the right is the income house of the Tsar and the Tsar's refectory, which is now run by our Ukrainian woman. The best club on the Côte d'Azur was created by Our Lady.
There are many yachts in the bay. Mignon, each one, people are relaxing calmly, and on the beach, they are sunbathing calmly. This is the local wild beach.
But in my opinion, there's more testosterone in the fund.
Oh, both fish and seagulls are fighting for food. The captain won't give bad advice. Links to Instagram. Underwater.
Piranhas, guys. Feed the piranhas.
Ah! It took the finger!
Really? Are you serious?
The rock is covered with cacti, and inside it there's a cave. A small cave. A large ship with contraband won't be able to hide. I've already made 2 episodes about Nice and the French Riviera. Watch them definitely after this video if you haven't seen them yet. The beach in Monaco is not as picturesque, but it is surrounded by civilization.
It's all a gym with a sea view. That is, it's very pleasant when you're working out.
Membership cost?
They will ask, I can disappoint. The membership costs 1,700 euros per year. It's actually, so it's not much. It's just, imagine, yes. Considering it's a very good gym, and I think it's better for me because you step out to the sea and can swim afterwards.
But do you often get bored in Monaco and want to leave?
Not often for me, because here, let's say there are a lot of people from the post-Soviet space, so you don't really feel like you're abroad as you might feel, for example, in Paris or London.
Money doesn't solve everything, and there can be inconveniences on the beach.
For people, there's no real invasion yet.
Do they swim the beach in Monaco?
They swim in because people lower the net with their hands and they swim in, yes. That's why you need to come in the morning. Oh, that is before 11 while everything is great and clean. After 11, too many people come to this size of the beach, especially now when everyone is still on vacation. People come from Italy, from France. And after 11, you can clearly see the sunscreen floating on the water.
In winter, I wouldn't swim here, but there are people who do.
In January, for example, when it's 15 degrees, kids come stripped down to their underwear and splash around in the water. That is, if the outdoor temperature allows, the water still doesn't drop below that. 11, 12. Especially people from England or northern countries, they stand out immediately because in March, when everyone else is still in hats and jackets with the first sun, they're already going for their first swims.
Right here on the beach, I came across 2 Russian students. Cool, right? During the holidays, the most I could afford was a barbecue.
I'm from Kaliningrad, Yasmina is from Kazan. We are university students, and we came here for the holidays.
Oh, did you recently come from Russia to Paitsaria?
I was born in Geneva, and Sonia was born in Russia. This is the first time we went on vacation together finally, and we decided to come here. Yes, in Monaco. I come here often, so we decided to...
Why Monaco?
Well, I personally have an apartment here, so it's more convenient.
Uh-huh. What will you be doing?
Relaxing.
In Monaco, a love for cool cars. More than regular cars. Sports cars. One after another. The third Ferrari showroom. That I've just come across. There are about 20 of them. It's not surprising given it's Monaco. The main event for all luxury car enthusiasts is the Formula 1 Grand Prix. Here they erect monuments not to Lenin but to racing cars. Alexander also loves Formula 1, but he watches it not from a stuffy balcony but directly from the cliff overlooking Monaco. Yes, there's a rock on the left, we watch from there. That's our VIP section, where we have a table set up, wine, cheese, a computer with the broadcast binoculars that let you see the entire track, not just a piece of it when you're sitting here. Parking is very limited. Even the ones for mopeds are always full. Parking a regular car is more difficult, and many people buy these tiny ones and park them in moped spaces. Parking in a not-so-central location costs almost €5 for 2 hours. Even if you need to park for a couple of minutes, it's still better to pay, otherwise the police will quickly penalize you.
They are very vigilant about this, how drivers behave, like yielding to pedestrians, for example. Never run a red light or park in the wrong place. Otherwise, they'll put a boot on your car, as it's called.
That device they put on the wheel, it indeed blocks something, and the fines are probably quite hefty. Monaco has only one railway station, and it is built inside the mountains just like the entire railway line. It was simply impossible to just build it on the surface. You can't get far in the small and beautiful principality, but Kshusha still has a bus pass.
With such distances, do you really need a bus pass at all?
If you live in Monaco, then yes, it's very convenient. Monaco goes.
Is that bad?
Damn. Sometimes they do race Ferraris here.
Damn. But if you get hit by a Ferrari, it's not as upsetting.
I would really love to visit my parents, but not right now. I would love to invite and spend some quality time with them and enjoy their company. My mom. To visit and show her the beauty of the Côte d'Azur.
She hasn't visited?
My mom hasn't visited yet, but my close friends have already come. I invite everyone, and as they say, the bravest ones endure the hassle with visas, but they come.
Did they stay with you here? Lucky friends.
Hospitable. And of course, I enjoy it when they come to visit me. I try to show them around, to showcase the beauty. The most interesting thing is that it's almost free. That is, tickets to from the village by bus are €2, 50 to Menton, I think €3. You are the main one. You arrive. And everything is already beautiful around you.
On the mountain where Xenia and I are climbing stands the old town, the castle of the ruling family and cannons that speak of past victories in history.
By the way, you know, at the last concert, Prince Albert was sitting right behind me.
Seriously?
Yes, there was a concert at the Prince's Palace. And since it was a significant concert, an important event, Albert attends such events. And so, he was sitting.
Were there rows of bodyguards between you or not?
No one. Just there, I don't know, the last 3 rows, and that's it. And he was sitting behind us.
Here, representatives of one of the smallest armies in the world are on duty, and there's a view of the entire country. More precisely, of 3 countries at once.
The very last mountains are the shores of Italy.
Right now, I'll point with my finger. Where the border exactly runs, indeed, this skyscraper is the farthest point of Monaco. Then it goes along the sea in a narrow strip. And somewhere here in the middle is where the border runs. The upper, high-rises, that's already France. And behind us, literally another 100 meters or 300, Monaco. Here we see 95% of the country. And this is the old town of Monaco. This is where it all began. For a long time, this patch of land was part of Italy. Then France. Everything is built up densely, but it's quiet compared to what's happening below.
Far fewer people. I would say no one. For me, the old town is a little piece of Rome, just without the performance.
Without those hormones.
Here in the old town is also the historical town hall where Xenia was denied a job.
In the Monaco town hall, they told me that both the French language and a French diploma are required for teaching.
A significant influence on the image and development. Monaco was greatly influenced by the American actress Grace Kelly, whom the Prince of Monaco, Rainier, fell in love with and brought to his domain.
And she ends her career as a Hollywood actress and becomes the Princess of Monaco. In Monaco, we can notice many exotic plants. Grace Kelly personally selected and was involved in the greening of Monaco. In short, she was digging in the garden.
This is the Japanese garden of Princess Grace. It was her project, and it is located on Princess Grace Avenue, a very peaceful place where people often come to have a cup of tea, which they don't bring with them, to have some kind of picnic near the water.
In the context of war and sanctions, it has become more difficult for Russians to do business in Monaco.
We created the newspaper 12 years ago. Everything was very normal, good. There were good incomes. Today, the situation is fundamentally different, but nevertheless, we are holding on.
Opening your own business in Monaco is indeed a big quest, and simply paying a lot of money is not enough.
You must also go through a multi-stage verification process. In Monaco, you submit your data, and it's extensive. You write about your entire life, what you have done, where you have lived, what you have been involved in, with addresses and phone numbers. Naturally, I absolutely won't even mention any issues with the authorities. No, God forbid.
They thoroughly check even social media and other online platforms.
In our case, it took time. We had 2 partners, me and my investor. It was 4.5 months of approval from Monaco. Did they really study both of you? Of course.
If everything is so expensive in Monaco, why does everyone want to move and register a business here? It's simple. There are very low taxes here, and some types are completely absent.
It's beneficial for large businesses, but it's not profitable for small businesses. Do you need to rent accommodation for an office? You must have accounting, you must have a company director. When you calculate what your overall expenses will be, call it taxes, call it what you want, but you will have unavoidable expenses.
More than one business has failed here due to unexpected expenses.
Investors came here, very large ones, opened restaurants, having experience, Russian, Ukrainian, but it's completely different.
What were the mistakes of all these Russian restaurants?
They didn't calculate the expenses. One restaurant closed after 2 weeks of operation. Today I did an interview with the owner of a nursery and kindergarten who said, Nina, 10 years we are here, it's an achievement.
Large French businessmen would like to flee to Monaco from the huge French taxes, but it's not easy.
For an employer, the laws here are more favorable than in France. And the expenses for employees here are much more advantageous than in France. A person who has a French passport can never rent a renovation in Monaco. That's the main condition. That's the main condition. You already have to choose your path from the very beginning, either this way or that way. Once you fall into the clutches of the French tax service, it's practically impossible to escape from there.
And this resident card, isn't it given to someone who just bought a small apartment, for example?
It's indeed complicated here, because if you bought, then yes. If you rented, then indeed. They might not even let you rent if you don't have residency.
So becoming a resident of Monaco is a complex issue, but solvable. But becoming a citizen is almost impossible except by decree from the prince for special merits.
Becoming a monegasque is impossible. They might grant it if you have a mother or father.
But if parents give birth to a child here, then no, it has no relation. Also no.
The mother or father must be only by inheritance. My grandson was born in Monaco, but his mother and father are not subjects of Monaco. He just has the place of birth in his passport, Monaco.
I came on a tourist visa. At the moment, I am in the process. I am currently preparing various documents.
You doing them Monaco or France?
In France, yes.
Senior communicates with her boyfriend in English. Do you need to learn French in Monaco, or is it not necessary?
It's not necessary, but if you want to work, for example, in a school or in some government institutions, yes, or in the Monaco City Hall, then of course it's better to know French. Because I went to inquire about a job at the Academy of Music, here also from Vinan, in Porto. And they told me everything is great, but you need French.
At first, Elena undoubtedly suffered a lot from not knowing French.
I speak with my London English in a very particular manner. Accordingly, they just turn around and leave. When I speak Russian, they don't understand anything. It's not English anyway. They are happy that I am Russian. They react very positively to this. I had to learn French from scratch because I am starting to work at the university. I understand that you are at a French university. In the well-known country and beyond, no one speaks English. You see, it was a shock, a cultural shock, because especially in the university environment, generally everyone speaks English. But not there. I had to learn it in 3 months, at most, to start giving lectures.
Despite the geopolitical situation, a school for Russian-speaking children recently opened near Monaco. Nastya has a child. He is 4 years old.
Playgrounds, yes, they are. Certainly always clean. If something breaks, they come and fix it. That's also really great. You don't have to worry about there being any rust, absolutely no rusty old pipe, and indeed, definitely no one getting hurt. If you go up to Beaulieu in France, it will be different there. There are playgrounds there that are better avoided.
Nastya's parents also moved from Moldova to a nearby French town. And she also gave birth here in Monaco.
Well, a hospital is just a hospital. I didn't like it. I won't give birth there again. I plan to have my next child at home. Yes, in Monaco, it's not allowed for a nurse to come to your home. So I'm looking for a place around here, I'll say. I didn't like it, but it's not because of something like some kind of, let's say, the hospital is not like that. It's just a general, we have a kind of medical relationship with you. They have this in hospitals. They are obliged to come to you, check, poke around with their fingers. In general, it's all not for me. If there was no insurance, all of this would have cost somewhere around 4,000, 5,000 euros. But since I have medical insurance, state insurance, it covered everything for me.
Again, no status, neither for the child nor for the parents. Birth in Monaco did not grant it. In the Principality, there are many wealthy people and everyone is obsessed with security and privacy, so I was often asked not to film.
Any problem with the system, such as hardware or software, move you 6 size.
need to conduct it thoroughly, efficiently, and with great care.
What feature do I have? Monaco figured out, so I'm not allowed to film normally anywhere. Even here at your reception, they ask to film only the wall and us.
There were, let's say, famous athletes in the building. This is also one of the reasons why people pay this money for accommodation. In such a small principality, it's because there is some privacy and security, which also comes from respecting each other's spaces, and they don't really like it. Monaco is not France. I feel protected here. It's very safe because there are cameras everywhere, and Monaco is truly one of the safest places in the world for me. In terms of feeling and safety, like how I felt in Norway, very calm, especially in winter. Very calm, very clean. In France, I wouldn't say it's as much.
You've been to Nice, right? Yes. Every 20 minutes, a full train of people arrives without any border control. But the police have learned to act discreetly.
We have a strict police force. We have a lot of surveillance cameras. They identify things instantly. But everything about Monaco is a completely different story. If you are a resident, you are doubly protected.
Elna noticed quite decisive actions by the local police.
There were probably about 10 French people, very brazen on their bicycles. They wouldn't let others pass. Then there was a policeman to stop them. You can't not stop them. He stayed and simply with a gesture, without saying anything, pointed them to the stairs leading to another street, which is France, and said, like this, go. What, how? They're immediately just, if you have any potential issue with, God forbid, these structures in Monaco, you might be banned from entering altogether.
I live wonderfully in the south of France, to be honest. Despite the difficulties that we experienced with the coronavirus and the war, I think everyone experienced it. My lifelong dream was to live in a place with good weather, good food, and smiling people. And I wake up every day with positivity and go to work.
Practically your backyard. Your house, somewhere nearby. Yes, my house is right nearby. Well, if you compare it to your backyard in Chisinau, well, I also had a yard in Chisinau, and I think I miss it a lot because sometimes I lack that feeling. To open the door of the house, walk barefoot into your yard, sit on the terrace and have a cup of tea. In winter, not everything is covered in snow. There are advantages. There are still advantages in Monaco.
That's how it is, the Principality of Monaco. On one hand, it's not for everyone, only for the chosen few. On the other hand, for people who truly want to live here, nothing is impossible. And now we see their happy faces. This was an episode about a tiny country with giant ambitions and the extraordinary people who have made Monaco their home. To not miss my new videos, subscribe to my YouTube and Instagram. Everywhere I am Vova Karmanov.